कर लो. Good afternoon, dear students. Can you look at this picture? Can you identify who is this scientist? She won Nobel Prize in 1911 in chemistry, and she developed the theory of radioactivity. And she was the one who was, who had designed the techniques for isolating radioactive isotopes. And she discovered two elements called polonium and radium. And at the age of 66 in the year 1934 at sanatorium in Saint-Limoges, France, she died of aplastic anemia because of exposure to radiation in the course of her scientific research and in the course of her radiological work, which she performed at different field hospitals during World War I. So she is none other than Marie Curie. So we'll be today talking about radioisotopes and radioactivity in medicine. Mainly the short answer questions are very known to be asked from this chapter. What is radioactivity and what are the various applications of various radioisotopes in the field of medicine, especially in the field of diagnosis and treatment, and maybe sometimes in the research aspects they might ask you. So today we'll be discussing about this particular chapter. Everyone is familiar about the nuclear theory of atom, which was discovered by Lord Ernst Rutherford in the year for which he was awarded Nobel Prize in 1908. Anthony Becquerel, he was a person who demonstrated the spontaneous radioactivity. Marie and Pierre Curie, they studied about radiation phenomenon and they isolated and purified radium and polonium. Frederick and Irene Joliot, these were the people who concentrated mainly on radioactive substances, and they were able to produce them in the artificial manner, for which they were being awarded Nobel Prize in 1935. So let's look into the basic concepts of an atom. Ernst Rutherford put forward the nuclear theory of atom. As per him, the atoms are composed of nucleus, which is positively charged, and the electrons are revolving around them, and these electrons are negatively charged. The subatomic particle, thus they contributed by electrons in the electron orbits, negatively charged, and the proton and neutron, they constitute the nucleus of an atom. So the protons and neutrons. Proton carries positive charge represented as P plus, and the best known example is hydrogen atom, which contains one proton. Therefore ionized hydrogen is otherwise called as proton. Neutron is abbreviated as small n and does not carry any charge. It has got same mass as that of proton. Protons and neutrons together, they constitute the nucleus of the atom. Therefore the atomic weight of an element will correspond to the note about this particular aspect. Atomic weight is equal to protons plus neutrons present in the nucleus. Coming to the electrons, they are abbreviated at E minus, negatively charged. They revolve around the nucleus, and the mass of an electron is corresponds to 1 in 2000 of a proton. They are the fundamental units of electricity. And when you look at an atomic weight and atomic number, how does they differ? Take an example of helium, having got atomic number represented with the letter capital Z. It represents number of protons. It is represented on the left lower end of the helium, or you can say it as subscript, and the mass number is located on the left upward portion or the upper corner of the helium atom, and the mass number of helium is 4 and the atomic number is 2. Okay, this represents the atomic number represents protons, and this represents both neutrons as well as protons. Now there's something called isotopes. Iso means they are the elements having got a same atomic number, but they got a different mass number, varying number of neutrons. The Greek word iso, it thus stands for equal. Iso means equal, top means in the same place, means they occupy the same place in the periodic table. For example, look at an example of hydrogen. Hydrogen 1 is a normal hydrogen with one proton, and deuterium has got it has got one proton along with one neutron, and tritium has got one proton along with the two neutrons. So henceforth the mass numbers are different for these isotopes. The isotopes may be stable or unstable. Again, this isotopes execute certain a phenomenon called stability and unstable atoms. These unstable are they are nothing but radioactive, and the later may be naturally occurring or artificially made. These radioactive isotopes could be natural occurrence, and also they could be artificially prepared in the laboratory. In the above example, which we have quoted about the hydrogen atom having got it three isotopes, that is hydrogen, deuterium and tritium. Deuterium is stable, which will not alter its nuclear composition during the passage of time. But there is something called tritium, which is going to execute something called as radioactive phenomenon. Hence, it is an unstable compound. Is going to transform by the nuclear decay. Now, let's talk about radioactivity. The unstable nucleus, what is important here? In unstable nucleus atom of some elements, spontaneously they are going to emit accelerated particles or photons of radiation. They can spontaneously emit accelerated particles or photons of radiation. This phenomenon is called as radioactivity. During this process, the nuclei lose energy and change into other specific elements. The property of spontaneous nuclear changes, we call it as radioactive decay. Natural radioactive element, they belong to one of the three different series, that is uranium, thorium or actinium series. Now, when you look at this particular diagram, it shows radioactive emissions. This radioactive emissions consist of alpha, beta and gamma rays. The alpha, beta and gamma, they interact with the matter to produce the ion phase, they called as ionizing radiation. You can see here that the radioactive emissions are of three types, mainly alpha rays, beta rays and gamma rays. Gamma, beta and alpha rays, and they are going to interact with the ion phase called as ionizing radiations. There are three decay, that is alpha and beta and gamma. The best example for alpha decay is that radium having got the atomic number 88 and mass number 222. When it is going to undergo radioactivity or unstable, the radioactive unstable compound, when the alpha particle is released, it is released in the form of helium. It has got 2 atomic number and 4 as a mass number. With Rn, there is whenever this particular compound undergoes alpha decay, there is a release of alpha particle, and the atomic number reduces by 2, and you can see 88 has become 86, and the mass number changes by 4. 222 minus 4, it is 218. That thus alpha particle production is an helium nucleus. The net effect is that there is a loss of mass number by 4 and loss of atomic number by 2. Coming to the beta radioactivity, when thorium, that is having atomic number 90 with 234 mass number, undergoes beta decay, it eliminates something called electron with the -1. That means there is a beta decay. The net effect is that to change the neutron to proton. That's why the atomic number changes by 91, that is by 1. There is an increase in the atomic number, but the mass number remains the same. That is called beta particle production. Beta particle is nothing but the electron. It's to change the neutron to proton. That's the reason the neutron is changed to the proton, thus accounting for the addition of the atomic number. Now coming to the radioactive decay, that is gamma radiation. The gamma radiation is in the form of electromagnetic radiation. You can see here technetium 99 with 43 atomic number. When it undergoes this gamma radiation or electromagnetic radiation, there is no change in the mass number, there is no change in the atomic number. Has no mass and no charge, and has got a maximum penetration. That's the advantage of gamma radiation. It's got a maximum penetration. Henceforth, it is used in the treatment of cancers. That's the main application of this gamma radioactivity. Now coming to the differentiating features between the three. The type of radiation alpha, it is composed of helium nucleus with 2 protons and 2 neutrons, and the mass number changes by 4 and the atomic number by 2. Ionization, ion pair per centimeter of travel in the air, it is about 20,000. Range in the air about 3 to 8 centimeter it can travel, but it could be stopped by few sheets of paper, and it is mainly radiation hazard. This alpha particle it causes radiation hazard. Regarding type of radiation, that's beta radiation, it is composed of electron. Mass is negligible over here, and the charge -1, and ionization of ion pair per centimeter of travel in the air about 100, and the range is 15 to 100 centimeter. Definitely it is more than the alpha particle, and yeah, it could be stopped by the few sheets of aluminium. Main application of this beta radiation is its usage in the research and diagnostic aspects. Coming to the gamma, gamma is very much helpful in our clinical medicine. It is electromagnetic waves and no mass, no charge, and ionization of ion per centimeter of travel is 1. Range in the air is about 100 meters. See, look at the beauty of travel of this gamma rays. That's the reason they are highly employed in the diagnosis and the treatment as well. It could be stopped by few centimeters with the help of thick lead, and the main application of this gamma radiation is its role in the diagnostics and treatment aspects. Now, there's something called off-life of radioactivity. Every one of us are aware about off-life. The off-life is a time taken by the radioisotope to become to off of its original activity. You look at the graph here on the y-axis and the x-axis. X-axis number of days have been plotted, and on the y-axis the percentage of the original activity of the radioactive element is placed here. This is the 100% radioactive activity. When the time taken by this isotope to reduce to half of its original activity, that means it is 50%. It means in 24 days we have plotted number of days on the days on the x-axis and the percentage on the y-axis. So how many days does it take it for to become to 50%? That's what is the radioactivity of life. Okay, it takes about 8 days to become 50% of its original activity. Getting my point? And it takes about 16 days to become 25% of its original activity, and almost takes about 24 days to become 12.5% of its original activity. So that's the radioactive the off-life of the radioactivity. Here it is about 8 days. Getting my point? And it's going to be constant for a particular isotope. Remember that it's not going to change, it's going to be fixed, or it's going to be constant for a particular isotope. Now coming to the units of radioactivity, 1 becquerel is equal to 1 disintegrations per second, and 1 curie is equal to 3.7 into 10 to the power of 10 disintegrations per second, close to radioactivity of 1 gram of radium 226. Okay. And exposure dose, whenever the exposure dose of the radiation has to be calculated, it is always especially for X-rays and the gamma rays exposure, the unit that we are going to use is Rontgen. Rontgen is going to measure the quantity of ionization produced in a given sample of air. 1 Rontgen is equal to 2 into 10 to the power of 9 ion pair per cubic centimeter of the air. So that's about the exposure dose. This is the radioactivity of the source. Becquerel and Curie are the radioactivity of the source, and the exposure source, whenever a person is subjected for X-ray or gamma ray treatment or gamma rays which are used for the diagnosis, how do we go to calculate the exposure dose? It is with the help of Rontgen. Getting my point? Then there is something called absorption by the tissue. Whenever a cancer patient is being subjected for radioactive isotope treatment, what happens? The absorbed dosage has to be calculated by the particular tissue, which is going to be measured in the form of 1 radons, which is equal to 1.5 into the 10 to the power of 12 ion pair per gram of the tissue, and 1 gray is equal to 10 to the power of 7 ergs per kilogram of the tissue is equal to 100 rads. And the other units are Rontgen equivalent in man. It's a dose of ionizing radiation causing same amount of biological injury to human tissues as 1 radiation of X-ray, gamma ray and beta radiation. Thus the absorbed dose is multiplied by the quality factor of the type of the radiation. Suppose in case of alpha radiation, the dose in REM is equal to dose in the radon into dose in the radiation into 20, because only 0.05 rads of alpha radiation is needed to produce affected as 1 rad of X, gamma and beta radiation. Just remember the units, that is mainly Curie and this REM. You need to know about, especially about Becquerel and Curie is important, and along with that Rontgen. Just try to remember those 3 units are very important. And coming to the sievert, it is the amount of radiation that gives a dose in human equivalent to 1 GY of X-ray, gamma ray and beta radiation, which is equal to 100 Rontgens. That is Rontgen in man. Okay. So that's about the various units of the radioactivity. And coming to the application, this part is very important for the examination point of view. The applications of radioactivity in the field of diagnosis, in the field of treatment and in the field of research, let's go into look at into this aspects. The branch of the medicine that's going to deal with the diagnostic applications of radioactivity is called as nuclear. These days the PG seats have been available in nuclear medicine, MD in nuclear medicine. This is a new field which is going to deal with the diagnostic applications of radioactivity. Especially it plays an important role in radioimmunoassay. This is a technique which we are going to, it is basically antigen antibody usage which we are doing in this particular assay. Especially this technique was very popular in the olden days for the measurement of T3, T4, TSH hormones. We are going to use something called primary antibody and antigen and the secondary antibody, and the binding and using the radio labeled antigens and antibodies which we are going to employ in this particular technique for the measurement of certain hormones. These days this is very less used. Again, the question mark is with the radio labeled elements, how are we going to dispose them? That's a biggest challenge. That's the reason this technique has not been used. It was been very popular in the olden days, but currently the usage of this RA is being limited. It is used in the measurement of routine hormones as well as all other hormones like CEA, like tumor markers, and you have estrogen, progesterone, estimation of testosterone, all could be done with this technique. And in case of thyroid uptake study and thyroid scanning, in this thyroid scanning, what do they do? Mainly the patient coming with the swelling of the thyroid gland, especially the goiter. If you want to look at the which lobe of the thyroid has got a swelling, what is its measurement, what's the location of the tumor, we are going to ask the patient to take iodine pill first, and this iodine gets concentrated in the thyroid gland, and after that the patient's neck is subjected for the scanning, which we call it as thyroid scanning. And this procedure is usually done 4 to 6 hours after taking of the iodine pill. The first scanning is done 4 to 6 hours of post ingestion of this thyroid the iodine pill, and after 24 hours again the second thyroid scan is taken, and this with the help of the images that we are going to get in this, and the iodine uptake, what is the amount of iodine uptake that has been happening in the thyroid gland. Based on that we can locate the tumor, and we are able to describe the structure and the location of this tumor. And it is also done, the radioisotopes have been used in bone and kidney scanning as well, and the blood flow study, and PET scan, that is positron emission tomography scan, especially if you want to look for the glucose metabolism in the cancer cells, and perfusion studies, we are going to use this particular PET scan. And even this radioisotopes have been employed in the lung function test, especially Xe133, xenon 133 isotope has been employed in doing the lung function testing. And recent approach for diagnosis is that 2 to 3 methods have been putting together, and they're going to give more accurate information about the diagnosis. Here you can use the you can look at the patient has undergone CT scan as well as PET scan. PT along with the CT scan could confirm the more possible. You can see the tumor location of this particular tumor in this PET scan, and with this the accuracy of the diagnosis is going to be improved, and better diagnostics and better therapeutic aspects of the patient. Hence for the two combination, the two particular tests have been put together, and that's like CT scan and PET scan. And coming to the application in the research field, study of the metabolic pathway, A is converted to B in turn is converted to C, and turnover rate of the substance or cell in the body can be calculated. Study of absorption, accumulation, translocation of the substance, like pharmacological or toxicological study. Isotope dilution technique to measure the volume of compartment, and carbon dating, and molecular biology. Molecular biology techniques are to employ this particular radioisotopes in the research field. Coming to its application in the treatment aspects, the radiation when absorbed by the tissue, it causes ionization and physical changes, the physical and biochemical changes that's going to happen in the cell. Damage to nucleic acid reduces survival of the cell and reduces the chance of next division. Therefore, cells with high division rates are more vulnerable. The type of therapy, radiotherapy that's going to be used are unsealed sources. That is, the radioisotopes are usually stored in the form of liquid, and this unsealed sources are being used for the radiotherapy. Especially the beta emitters are going to be the best sources for unsealed sources, and they are going to be employed in the treatment of thyroid cancer. You can look at the iodine 131 having its role in the treatment of thyroid cancer. And the sealed sources are also known as brachytherapy. Brachytherapy is nothing but placing the radioactivity inside the human body. Okay, suppose there is a brain cancer, or suppose there is a vaginal cancer for the patient. Directly the radioactive element or the radioisotope that's going to be used for the particular cancer is going to be placed inside the tissue, and by the technique of ionization, the physiological changes that's going to happen in the cell is going to cure the or bring about the curative changes in the cancer cells. The sealed sources are also known as brachytherapy. They are covered with the platinum alloy to absorb the alpha and beta rays, and gamma rays are allowed. The radium needle cesium-137 has been used. And teletherapy. Tele means distance and therapy means treatment from the distance. The radioactive source, the radiation is kept very far away from the patient and is being employed in the treatment of several cancers, especially the deep X-rays and the gamma rays, which will act as a good radioisotope radiotherapy in case of teletherapy. And depending upon the sensitivity of the cancer tissue to the treatment, we have three different varieties like highly sensitive, moderately and poorly sensitive. Like lymphomas and neuroblastomas, they are very much radio sensitivity is very high. Once we subject the patient to radiation therapy, especially patient suffering from neuroblastoma and lymphoma, the tumors are going to very well respond to the treatment. And the moderately sensitive are CA cervix, CA oral cavity, CA breast and cancer, CA lung. And the poorly sensitive, the osteosarcomas which are arising from the bone cell, they are very poorly sensitive to the radiotherapy, and also malignant melanoma. And targeted radionucleotide therapy, especially in the bone pain palliation in metastatic cancers using radiopharmaceuticals. It is mainly applied for osteosarcoma, prostate carcinoma. Here, bone-seeking radiopharmaceutical behaves like a tumor-seeking agent, targeting the tumor-produced osteoid of not only the primary tumor and its skeletal metastasis, but also the extra-osseous metastasis. Radio-labeled peptides, they are used in the treatment of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma with iodine-131 and tritium-90, and monoclonal antibodies directed against CD20 and CD22 antigens of the beta cells. And look at the different radioactive isotopes that's been used in the different purpose. Carbon-14 research in metabolism and carbon dating, and tritium cell biology research, and phosphorus-32 research in nuclear biology and treatment of polycythemia. P for P32, P for polycythemia. Chromium-51 for RBC kinetic studies, and iodine-125 for RIA, that is radioimmunoassay technique. Iodine-131 for the treatment of hyperthyroidism and thyroid cancer. Technetium-99 for the blood flow studies, and radon-226 for interstitial implantation. Cobalt-60 for teletherapy for cancer. Cesium-137 for teletherapy for cancer. So these are all gamma radiators. Carbon and tritium and phosphorus, they are beta emitters. The other applications, they have been used in the electricity generation and nuclear weapons. They have been used since several years as a nuclear weapons, and of course they have not yet used, but it's been in the streamline. Ecological study like migration study, food chain study, sterilization of equipments and irradiation of food, production of mutation in microbes, especially in the industrial microbiology, and smoke alarms like alpha emitters have been used as the smoke emitters. And what are the effects of radiation on the tissues? Like it can directly damage the DNA, and it can cause chromosomal breakage leading to reduced cell division, and it can cause free radical mediated damage and the damage to the local blood supply leading to the tissue necrosis. And you can look at this high sensitivity, moderately sensitivity and low sensitivity of the cancers with respect to the radiation. And the bone cancer, gallbladder and skin cancer, and kidney and spleen, they respond very less to the radio therapy, but highly sensitivity is with the lung, breast and stomach and colon, and moderate sensitivity with brain, lymphoid tissue, thyroid, esophagus, then pancreas, liver and ovaries, so on. It can cause epilation of the skin, acute and chronic radiodermatitis, malignancy, GI mucosa. It can cause nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, ulcers, bleeding, fibrosis, adhesion, malignancy, and sometimes the patient can land up with pancytopenia, means decrease in the RBC, WBC as well as platelet count. The platelet go even, they fall less than 80,000 and WBC less than 2000. And the reproductive system, they can account for sterility or infertility in males and females. And the radiation sickness, whenever the patient is exposed to radiation dose of greater than 700 rads to whole body is definitely fatal, and greater than 120 can cause severe illness in 50% of the patients. How do we protect from the radiation? Normal radiation exposure statistics: from sun rays 150 million rem per year, and 50% from the cosmic rays, 30% terrestrial environment, 20% from internal environment. 20% more radiation high altitude due to cosmic rays, 20 to 30% or more in coastal areas. How are we going to monitor this radioactive exposure, radioactivity in a particular given area? The periodic monitoring of both person and the work areas plays an important role, and the maximum permissible dose for whole body is 0.5 rem per year, and the radiation worker 5 rem per year. Lab person handling iodine 125 scanned for thyroid deposition. Doctors, nurses, a research person should wear a batch of sensitive film to detect exposure in the work area. Portable radiation detector is used to scan the work area, and going to keep all the records of exposure of all the staff for the past 5 years. Annual occupational dose limits are: for whole body it is 5000 mREM per year, and lens of the eye 15,000, extremity, skin, individual tissue 50,000, minor 500, embryo and fetus 500, general public 500. So this is the exposure dose. And how do we control the contamination control? Restriction of entry of radioactive material in the body. Strict no to smoking, eating, drinking, applying of cosmetics on skin, or storing food in the work area. No mouth pipetting. Use of protective clothing. Reduce time spent in the radiation field. Increase the distance from the radioactive materials. Decontamination facility should be made available, and knowledge should be given about it to work in the working area. And the waste disposal is very important aspect of this radioactivity chapter, because anything by mismanaged, it's going to give various disastrous effects on our health. The deep ocean disposal containers made up of borosilicate glasses are filled with the nuclear waste to prevent any nuclear radiation from leaking out, and the container is enclosed in another watertight metal container and dumped into the ocean. That is about the deep ocean disposal. And the deep geological burial, it is similar to that of deep ocean disposal system, but in this case the containers are going to be kept deep underground in the less populated areas. This method depends on the natural decaying ability of the radioactive material for its success. The materials are buried in the deep under the earth of the thousands of years and are allowed to settle the safe level of the radioactivity. There's a recent technique, that's nuclear waste recycling, in which the uranium, plutonium and other fission products are separated into different streams using chemical process. The advantage of doing this is that these products could be reused or disposed of more easily. So this about the various role of this radioactive production of electricity, and diagnosis, treatment aspects, and so on. So please do read about this chapter, and thus we have finished this radioactivity and radioisotopes and their applications in the medicine. Thank you.